Welcome along to Transfer Talk. Liverpool have had a very good transfer window so far, but there seems to be no let-up. Two defenders could potentially be on their way to Anfield, and that includes the Crystal Palace captain, Mark Guehi. We've got the very latest coming right up. Jacob Ramsey could be heading to the northeast as Newcastle attempt to sign the midfielder from Aston Villa. Not long after his Everton contract expired, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is close to joining a new Premier League team. Details on who that is shortly. And he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world, but his time at PSG is over. Could we see Gianluigi Donnarumma in the Premier League? Right, we're going to start with some breaking news, though, and Atalanta have made a £34.5 million offer for Fulham's Rodrigo Muniz. The offer is made up of a guaranteed £30 million fee and then bonuses up to another £4.5 million. You can see James Green is alongside me. What else we got on this, James?
Yeah, it's just recent now. Now, we knew there was interest surrounding Rodrigo Muniz, interest from Leeds United in this window too, but Atalanta have made their move. Now, so our understanding, the player's pretty keen to move on. Now, he's been fighting for his place at Fulham alongside Raul Jimenez, not necessarily first choice all the time. 8 goals last campaign, 7 goals the campaign before. Fulham want him to stay and feel that it's going to be very difficult to let him go in this window unless they're able to get an adequate replacement in. Now, the player's got 1 year left on his contract, which normally you would say, OK, an offer like that's probably pretty good for a player with 1 year left, but Fulham have an option of a further year to extend that. Now, alarmingly for, say, Fulham fans, it's been a very quiet transfer window. Now, Marco Silva is keen to add to the squad this summer. He wants a couple of wingers. He wants another striker in and possibly an advanced midfielder too, but he wants to keep hold of his current squad at the same time. But Rodrigo Muniz might be on his way out of Fulham in this window. OK, well, we'll explain also how that might impact Dominic Calvert-Lewin in just a few minutes' time. First of all, though, let's talk about that big Gianluigi Donnarumma news after he was left out of the PSG squad for tonight's UEFA Super Cup against Tottenham Hotspur. Let's speak to our European football expert, Julien Laurent. Julien, long time, my man. Hope you're doing well. Let's start with that Donnarumma news then, shall we? From a PSG perspective, what's happened here? Are you surprised by this news?
Not really surprised, although from the outside it could look a bit cruel considering what Donnarumma has done last season, especially in the second half of the season where he was incredible, and without him really PSG would not have won the Champions League. But there's a couple of things. The first one is that his contract was expiring next year. You know, he only had 1 year left on his contract and there was just no agreement over an extension. I think they talked for a while, the club and Enzo Raiola, his agent. They could not really find an agreement financially. Donnarumma was making a lot of money on an old type of contract, the ones that the club doesn't give anymore. Now they tend to do low wages and then a lot of incentive to go much higher. Donnarumma is still on the old one where you have high wages and that's it pretty much. And Donnarumma didn't want to change that really. He was happy with that kind of structure for his contract, but just wanted a bit of a pay rise. PSG were not really ready for that. They went back and forth, and in the end, PSG said, listen, we're going to go somewhere else. They signed Lucas Chevalier, who's younger, better with the ball at his feet in his distribution, better on crosses, which is the two weaknesses really that Donnarumma has. But it feels like you're letting go the best goalkeeper in the world right now, certainly on his line, to get a talented young player, for sure, but not with the same experience or successful career.
So where could he go then? I mean, obviously now a lot of Premier League fans are thinking, well, this Premier League club could do with him, this Premier League club could do with him. But there seems to be a lot of momentum behind Manchester City at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, for what I know and what I was told again this morning, they're the only club right now to have contacted PSG for Donnarumma, and they were already in contact with his entourage. The one thing, first, they need to get rid of Ederson because they already have Trafford that they just signed for £27 million, plus Ortega, who's still there. It would not make sense to keep Ederson and have Donnarumma as well coming in. We expect PSG to ask a fee around £40 million, which is a lot of money, but he's the best goalkeeper in the world, as we've said. The other thing is, he's not really a Pep Guardiola type of goalkeeper or type of player. Like I've said before, his distribution is not good, and that's also why PSG were happy to go for somebody much better on the ball than Donnarumma. If you are a goalkeeper for Pep Guardiola, ask Joe Hart, you need to be very good on the ball, which is not the case of Donnarumma. And then there's crosses. If you want to do well in the Premier League, you need to be good in the air, good on crosses, good on corners, which again, it's not him. He doesn't come out on corners or crosses. So this is the truth. They are in contact with the club, with PSG, and with the entourage of Donnarumma. But for me, I'm just amazed because it doesn't make much sense why they would go for him and spend all that money on him. I know he's only 26 years old and there's room for improvement, sure, but he's definitely not a Guardiola type of player, and certainly not the way City play. So unless they change their style, or it's a very short-term thinking, there might be just one more year of Guardiola and he wants the best on his line, regardless of how good he is in the air or on the ball. But that is one that really surprises me.
Yeah, you're right. He's almost the polar opposite of goalkeeper to Ederson, isn't he? And we are hearing from Manchester City that they want Ederson to stay at the club and be their number one goalkeeper. So this is a sort of slightly interesting link, isn't it, between the two clubs? Where else in the Premier League do you think he could go? Do you think Chelsea and Manchester United could change their stance on their own goalkeepers now that Donnarumma is available?
I mean, I think they are the other two clubs. The thing with Chelsea is that they don't give wages like the ones Donnarumma wants. I mean, he's already making more than 10 million a year. There's none of that money at Chelsea right now since Bluco arrived. So that contract won't be on the table for him unless they change and they pay him what he wants. I don't see that happen. So then there's United. But United have the Onana issue right now, is that to sign another goalkeeper, they need to find a club for him, and he's injured, and it will be very difficult to offload Andre Onana right now. So I think United have distanced themselves a little bit from the Donnarumma situation, but they might come back later in the window, because I do think that they want an upgrade on Onana. I think Donnarumma will be, even if, again, I think Ruben Amorim likes goalkeeper who can play a bit, and that's not really the case for Donnarumma.
OK, let's move things on to Liverpool then, and a player that you will have seen a lot of course, and that is Ugo Ekitike. He was pretty impressive, wasn't he, in that Community Shield match on the weekend? He looks to have settled in very well so far. I suppose that hasn't surprised you.
No, not at all. I mean, super talent. He showed it when he started in the French top flight when he was 16 and 17. Then he went to PSG, which was the wrong choice and the wrong move for him at the time. He arrived in a dressing room full of egos where the front three was already Messi, Neymar and Mbappe. There was no room for him, and just coming on for 5-10 minutes was never going to work out. But we saw in Germany when he went to Frankfurt how good he could be, and he's still very young. He's only 22 years old. But we saw in that Community Shield on Sunday everything he can do. His finish is great. His first touch on the back foot is great. Then all the linker play, already you see the relationship with Wirtz being super good. There's no doubt. I spoke to somebody at the club before they signed saying, like, do you like him? What happened in Paris? They had a few questions, and go for it. There's no doubt. I don't know how great it would be for a first season. I don't know if the money they paid for him will justify his performances. We will have to wait and see. But he's a smart kid. He's super talented. He's got everything really to do well in the Premier League, and also for the best team in the Premier League right now, which is the holding champions. So for me, it was a great move. I know there's all the Isak chats still now, but Ekitike to Liverpool, I think, made a lot of sense for them and for him.
Yeah, it looks like they've bought well so far, Liverpool, and they're not done yet. They could still get Alexander Isak and Mark Guéhi. If that happens, is this one of the best summer transfer windows you've ever seen for a club?
Oh, man, without a doubt. I think this would be the greatest, more even than some Galacticos summers at Real Madrid. This has to be, it's already one of the best, surely. When you get Frimpong, Kerkers, Wirtz and Ekitike, this is, okay. You've set the bar really high. If you add to that an England international in Mark Guéhi, FA Cup winner as captain for Crystal Palace, and then Isak, who in March, when he was walking on water, was probably the best number 9 in the world, you're thinking, okay, this is unbeatable, unmatched. It would be amazing. I don't know if financially they can do that. Guéhi is probably around 35, 40 million pounds. For Isak, you look at 140, 150, that would be another 200 on everything they've already spent. And they got good money for Luis Diaz, good money for Darwin, no problem. Kwanzaa as well, maybe Elliott. I get that, but it's still another 200 million for 2 players. So we'll see. Guehi, I'm sure will happen. And again, we can look at it and think he would come as a sub because Konate and Van Dijk are your pairing as centre-backs, and he's not going to change that, I think. So for his point of view and his perspective, could this be a bit of a strange move? Maybe, but I think it will happen. For Isak, I think the saga will rumble on until quite late in the transfer window.
And Julian, I just want to finish with Bournemouth because they've sold Ilya Zabarnyi to PSG on Monday. Howson has already gone, Kerkez too. They've completed the signing of centre-back Bafode Diakite from Lille today, though. So what will he offer Bournemouth? And is he capable of helping fill those 2 big holes left by Howson and Zabarnyi?
I really think so. It's a great signing. One of the best centre-backs in Liga. Not just last season, but even the season before. Had a great European campaign too. In the Champions League with Lille last year, where he played against Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid and was outstanding against their forwards and their strikers. Great player that I don't think Lille really wanted to let go a year after losing Lenny Yoro already to the Premier League and to Manchester United. But the offer was great. I think it's good for him to make that step up to the Premier League. And I think inevitably could have a destiny like the Zabarnyi one and the Howson one, where then an even bigger club in England comes and get him, because he's really that good. He's an outstanding centre-back, good in the challenges, good on the man, can play as well, he's quick, he's good in the air. That was a great signing. They liked Nathan Zeze as well, who they were outpriced by Saudi Arabia, and he went to Neom instead of coming to Bournemouth. But Diakite was always quite high on their shortlist, and it's a very good signing from them.
I think that'll be music to Bournemouth fans' ears. Great to talk to you, Julian. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Right, interesting stuff from Julian there. We're going to talk about Marc Guéhi now, because there were some significant developments around his future yesterday. Crystal Palace have slashed their asking price for their captain to around £40 million, with Liverpool in talks to sign him. So it is progressing on that front. All the focus at the moment, James, understandably, has been on Isak going to Liverpool. Everyone's very excited if Isak arrives, have Liverpool won the title, etc., etc. But is centre-back arguably the more pressing area that they've got to address rather than centre-forward right now?
I think when we look at their squad, centre-back is the glaring area where they look short. Ibrahim Konate, Virgil van Dijk. Now, you've got a partnership there that I know Julian referred to it and seemed to say that if Marc Guéhi came in, he'd be second best. I may have a slightly different opinion to others on it. I think Marc Guéhi's that good, and actually I think he and Van Dijk next to each other actually would work so well together. But you've got an area where you've got one centre-back who's got 1 year left in his contract, Konate. Another centre-back just signed a new contract, but he's 34 years old, is Van Dijk. He's coming to the end, but he's got another 2 years. You need to start building for the future. Well, building for the future with England's, you'd probably say, number one centre-back right now coming in, somebody who's just had success with Crystal Palace, somebody who left a perceived top 6 club in Chelsea when he was a young man at 21 years old to pursue a new career in the Premier League, because he saw that as a better pathway to play regular Premier League football at Crystal Palace, developed into a captain, a leader, and his performances on the pitch have just continually improved. That area is what Liverpool need. They need more strength defensively. It's hard to criticise Liverpool, right? They've just won the Premier League title by 10 points. Despite being knocked out of the Champions League by PSG, let's not forget they had a great league campaign in the Champions League. But defensively, there are frailties, no doubt about it. We saw that in fruition at the Community Shield as well, how easily they were to play through at times. They need to improve that area of the pitch, and Marc Guéhi certainly does that for them.
You mentioned the looking ahead to the future, and could Liverpool feasibly actually sign 2 centre-backs this summer.
They could. Look, Matt, all clubs are still looking at the future. It's not just about the here and now. It's about how can we continue to develop our squad so that we are bringing in talent, we're improving talent, and we're continuing this cycle. And the longer you continue that positive cycle of replenishing your squad, developing talent, the more success and continued success you're going to have. Now, Liverpool are interested in Parma's teenage centre-back Giovanni Leone, 18 years old. The fee that's being touted around £26 million plus bonuses. He established himself in Parma's first team towards the back end of last season, became a regular starter at just 18 in a physical league like Serie A, and Liverpool are looking at the future. They're looking at what I mentioned before. Konate 1 year left, Virgil van Dijk coming to the end. They need to make sure they've got the next set of centre-backs to come in that they will see hopefully as the future defence for Liverpool moving forward.
Right, Liverpool still going in the transfer window. We
Yes,
expect
they are.
some more deals to come. Right, we got a lot more to come as well. Some huge names still to discuss. Leeds United back in the Premier League, and they're trying to sign a new striker. We will tell you who that is in a few minutes' time. Stay with us. Right, welcome back to Transfer Talk. We're going to get to one of the promoted sides now, and Leeds have reached an agreement in principle to sign Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He's a free agent after his Everton contract expired. This is interesting, isn't it, James? Very interesting potential move. What do you make of it?
I think it's a good move. It's good to see him still in the Premier League. 28 years old. Feels like there's still so much to prove, even though he's been around and in the Premier League for so long at his time at Everton. Hampered by injuries, no doubt in that. And then it seems to be like his form just dropped off towards the end of his time at Everton. Now, whether that was a case of coinciding with Everton's struggles or whether he just maybe came to a point where, do you know what, I need to freshen things up. I need a new challenge. I need new personnel around me. That's down for the player to understand, let us know, and I'm sure we'll hear from him at some point about his time at Everton and changes moving to Leeds United. But for Leeds, attacking options has been something they needed to improve upon. Daniel Farke was quoted as saying this only on Saturday. He said, in comparison to the championship squad, we have not improved the offence. To have a squad capable to survive in the top flight, we need to strengthen in offence. We need some top-class signings, not just numbers. So he's reiterating that's what we need. And if you look at their transfer business so far, Lucas Nemecka's come in, but that's the only reinforcement at the top end of the pitch. It's really been the defensive reinforcement, central midfield reinforcements that they've brought in so far.
Well, Calvert-Lewin, I'm sure wherever he goes, he wants to be the main man, doesn't he? He's been around the Premier League for a long time now. Would he be the main man at Leeds?
He would want to be. That's for sure. This is a player, he has twice scored double figures in the Premier League, 16 goals back in 2021. But it isn't necessarily enough to go into a club and demand that I am the number 9 striker. Now, Daniel Farke has clearly set his stall out how he wants to attack the new season in the Premier League, physically imposing players. I think the majority of the players are brought in of over 6 foot in height. So he wants that to build this physically strong team. Age range, I've mentioned it previously on the show, 5 26-year-olds, 2 27-year-olds. Calvert-Lewin's 28 years old. So that's the bracket he's looking at bringing in. Will he be a starter? Well, he's up against Lucas Nemecka, new signing. Joel Pirro did a good job in the Championship last season. He'll have to earn his stripes. He'll have to earn his place in the team. Certainly, a manager like Daniel Farke will want him to prove himself. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin has got the quality to be a number 9 striker in the Premier League. It's just whether we can see it on a consistent basis. But if a team's playing a more physical side of football, maybe this is going to benefit him immensely.
Yeah. Well, and what would this mean for Leeds' interest in Rodrigo Muniz, who Fulham don't want to sell? I mean, we've just heard Atalanta have come in with an offer of £34.5 million in total, including add-ons. We're not sure whether that'll be accepted or not. But could Leeds still try to sign Rodrigo Muniz as well as Calvert-Lewin?
I'd be really surprised. Really surprised. I think when you're talking about £34 million for Muniz, will Leeds outlay that when they've just now bringing in a Premier League striker in Dominic Calvert-Lewin? Very unlikely. Going back to the quotes of what Farke said just on the weekend, we need some top-class signings, not just numbers. He's not saying one, he's saying some, and offense is where they need them. Now, I was looking at the squad, and it's the wide areas maybe that Leeds look like they're a little bit light. They've got likes of Dan James, Wilfred Gnonto, Jack Harrison. Doesn't feel quite enough to compete in the Premier League and to create the chances around a number 9 forward like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So I would be surprised, but they do remain interested, so we'll have to wait and see.
OK, yeah, we'll keep you posted when we hear anything. Leeds have reached an agreement in principle to sign Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He is a free agent now after his Everton contract expired. Now to Newcastle, who are trying to get deals done. They brought in Malik Thiaw yesterday from AC Milan, and they are now in talks with Aston Villa to sign Jacob Ramsey. Former Newcastle midfielder Dan Gosling was with us earlier on Good Morning Transfers. This was his take on the potential signing of Ramsey.
He definitely lifts the squad up. I think he's a really, really good player. I think he's very similar to Willock, but Willock's had his injury problems in the past, probably 2 years. But it just gives him a little bit of versatility in there. Jacob Ramsey can obviously play further forward as well, so if they're going to tweak the system a little bit. He can play off the sides. He can play in that number 10 position. So yeah, it gives him great versatility, and I think it'd be a great signing for Newcastle.
Yeah, that would be another interesting move, wouldn't it? Why would Aston Villa let him go, though?
I think the reality is they don't want to, first and foremost. Only on Friday, we exclusively revealed that Aston Villa had offered the player a new contract. He's got 2 years left on his deal, but I'm not certain the player is adamant he wants to sign that new contract right now. Now, he's been in and out of the Aston Villa side. He played key parts in last season, particularly in that Champions League run. He's a player that Unai Emery likes a lot. The energy that he brings to that unit, something that, well, as Dan Gosling was saying, would fit him quite well under Eddie Howe at Newcastle. But profit and sustainability has been a key words that we've been talking about with Aston Villa and making sure they're compliant with that. Selling Jacob Ramsey, homegrown player, for a fee of around, say, £40 million is pure profit. Aston Villa will benefit immensely from doing that. So despite the fact they want to keep him, if the player is choosing not to sign a new deal, it might make sense for all parties that they reluctantly let him leave and actually puts Villa in a better financial position moving forward.
That's one thing I still don't like about PSR, that homegrown players.
It's not nice, is it?
No, it's something they've got to sort out. That's a different story anyway. Next up, we are at Manchester United training as they look to sell as well. What does the future hold for Alejandro Garnacho and Rasmus Højlund? We'll talk about that next. Our football correspondent Rob Dorset is at a special event in Liverpool to mark the occasion. Afternoon, Rob. What's exactly going on there, and who can we expect to hear from today then?
Do you know what? This event, the Premier League launch event, gets more glitzy, more glamorous, more interactive every year. It was in London last year. It's now up in Liverpool, very close to Everton's new stadium at Bramley Dock. That is the new Puma Premier League football, seen for the first time, of course, on Friday night when Liverpool take on Bournemouth. And look, they've got all the new Premier League shirts out on display. There is Liverpool-Bournemouth. That's the big one on Friday night, live on Sky Sports, of course, as well. And you can see they've got all of the Premier League club shirts lined up over here. A lot of them without sponsors, actually. If you look at Forest down there, that hasn't got a sponsor yet. But this is what you will see on the pitch for the new season. It's quite nice to see them all laid out there. We've got the Fantasy Premier League going on over here where people are already signing up for their teams for the season. They've got to do that quite quickly. A lot of people dropping Alexander Isak, having picked him over the summer, because of course they don't know about his future. Is he going to play in the opening match round? We've got the Premier League trophy over here as well in the penalty shootout area. If they let me anywhere near that, we've got to move that trophy long before I get anywhere near that with a football. And the idea of this event today is to talk to some of the great and the good of the game and build up the excitement and the expectation ahead of the Premier League season. We will be speaking to the chief executive of the Premier League, Richard Masters, very, very shortly. And of course, big issues for him involving the 115 plus charges for Manchester City that we still haven't had a resolution for. We'll hear from Howard Webb, the head of the PGMOL and the head of UK referees as well. Speaking of which, look who's here. It's Chris Foy. We're going to interrupt him because he's got a certain John Aldridge Liverpool legend here who's having a go at VAR. John, how's this going, dare I ask?
Well, do you know what?
It's not easy, is it?
Sort of. I'm swaying with referees now after I've given so much stick in my lifetime. I see that I've probably picked.
So look at the screen. Look, is this a penalty then, Chris? Talk us through it. So, Chris, you're in charge of coaching the referees now, having been a former Premier League referee yourself.
Well, what's given on field is it's a penalty given on field by the referee. So the VAR has to determine is it a clear and obvious error? You know, is it a howl? Has he got it completely wrong? And John's been looking at it, and I'm just going to start chanting he doesn't know what he's doing because.
Go on, play it for us. Let's have a look. Let's all viewers have a look back at home and see if they think it's.
See the first one. The first one, it looks a penalty from. It looks a penalty.
It does.
Yeah, it's, you know, bang
it's
on.
given by the referee, obviously, on field.
In a great position to see it.
That's.
And then you know, hold on. That's.
Your phone's your wife's trying to get hold of you now. What's going on? He needs it. Here's the close-up. Here's the close-up.
See, he's made such a meal of it.
You think Zaha's dived? Oh,
he's dived big time. But as we were saying, Chris, the contact's been made before he's dived. He's all right. He's threw himself to the ground.
Right. Listen, the fans are waiting, John. Penalty or no penalty?
Well, I haven't seen it again. It's a penalty. It is a penalty, but he over-stressed the situation, in my opinion.
I'm going to have a go at this later. Listen, we'll talk to you about Liverpool later on as well. That's John Aldridge and Chris Foy. We'll speak to them hopefully live on Sky Sports News a little bit later on. We've got VAR. You can take yourself inside Anfield if you want. All of this is around the important stuff because, as I say, we're going to be talking to the chief executive of the Premier League, Richard Masters, very shortly about some very significant issues there as well. There'll be representatives, some of the old boys from Liverpool as well, about the belief of whether they can defend their Premier League title with all of the millions that they've spent so far. What does John Aldridge, by the way, think about the potential signing of Alexander Isak if that happens, and all the political and complication and controversy with his potential move from Newcastle right now? So stay with us throughout the afternoon on Sky Sports News. Lots of big name guests and one or two bits of fun as well around this Premier League launch. It's going to be one heck of an afternoon.
Oh, I'm sure it does. It looks like a lot of things for you to do there, Rob, and good luck with the VAR. That looked hard. I was getting stressed just looking at it, to be honest with you. Right, let's go from Liverpool to Manchester and to Manchester United in particular, who start their Premier League campaign on Sunday with a real blockbuster at home to Arsenal. Dan Khan has been watching the first team train for us. We can speak to him now. Hello, Dan, in the sunshine. Lovely up there. Any injury issues for Manchester United?
Yeah, afternoon, Matt. We got to watch a little bit of Ruben Amorim's Manchester United side train a bit earlier on today, ahead of what is such a huge game against Arsenal on Super Sunday. And I think Ruben Amorim will be pretty pleased that he doesn't have many injuries to worry about. And actually, he has 3 of his major new signings ready to go at the start of this season. We saw Benjamin Sesko for the very first time in front of our cameras after sealing his move from RB Leipzig to Manchester United on Saturday. He joined the likes of Bryan Mbeumo, Matheus Cunha, who will form that new look front 3 for Manchester United compared to last season. I think the question marks will be around Sesko in terms of how match fit he is and how he adapts to English football, of course, just at the age of 22. But they have ready-made firepower in Cunha and Mbeumo, and really raises the expectations for Ruben Amorim and Manchester United going into this season, having spent just under £200 million on attacking talent this window. In terms of other injuries to tell you about, Aiden Heaven was there fit after coming off against Fiorentina. Joshua Zirkzee also back in training. 2 names that weren't there, Lisandro Martinez still recovering from his knee injury last season. We know he's individual training at the moment, not fit enough to just join the group just yet, but also no sign of Noussa Mazraoui, who of course joined from Bayern Munich last summer, played a huge part for United last season, but he's also out, it seems, with an injury just for now. We'll get an update from Ruben Amorim on those 2 on Friday when he speaks in front of the media ahead of that game against Arsenal.
And of course, we know United have to sell players. Were those that they would like to leave involved today?
Well, that's a 2-part question, 2-part answer, Matt, because some of the players we know who aren't part of Ruben Amorim's plans going forward, the likes of Jadon Sancho, Alejandro Garnacho, Tyrell Malacia, of course, weren't there with the first team this morning. But one striker who was there, talking about Sesko coming in, one who's been rumoured with a potential departure in terms of Rasmus Højlund, he was with his teammates this morning, and I have to say in pretty good spirits. And I've been around United a lot in the last week especially, and that's pretty consistent with what his behaviour has been, considering there are so many question marks over his future as we speak. We know AC Milan are very keen on the Danish striker after United spent £72 million on him just a few years ago from Atalanta. We know United may consider offers for the striker if it fits him as well as the club, but we'll have to see in the next few weeks whether a move materialises. I think the question for Højlund will be how many minutes does he see himself getting with the arrival of Sesko, especially in a World Cup year as well. Will he see that as a jeopardy of his place in the Danish team as well? We'll have to wait and see. But I think the other departures are very important for United as we speak, Matt, in terms of the likes of Garnacho, Sancho, get those wages and those fees into the club, wages off the wage bill, because if they are going to look to strengthen even a little bit more before the deadline, they're going to really have to balance the books and get some departures sorted.
OK, well, how about that extra strengthening then? We've seen them already really strengthen in attack. Could there be any further incomings?
Yeah, I think we spoke about this the other day in terms of signings under Ineos since they've come into the club, and they really have strengthened actually in a lot of positions. I think there were question marks earlier in the window around the goalkeeping position. Andre Onana also missed all of pre-season with a hamstring injury. I can tell you saw him train as well after he was pictured yesterday on the club's website. He was training this morning. So I think United are actually reasonably happy in their goalkeeping position as we speak. I think when you look at the midfield, though, that is perhaps the one question mark over what is the best combination going into that Arsenal game, with Bruno Fernandes having to play deeper, with the arrival of Cunha and Mbeumo. Who is his best partner in that midfield? Is it Kobbie Mainoo, Manuel Ugarte or Casemiro? I think there's still a lot of question marks in that position, and I think ideally United would like to strengthen in that area before the deadline. But is it a Carlos Baleba, who we understand would be very, very difficult to get over the line in this window because Brighton have no intention of selling him? Would they look elsewhere? We'll have to wait and see. But I think the midfield is that one position. I think if you're Ruben Amorim, you would like to strengthen and to really compare against the other top 4, top 6 sides in the Premier League.
Always a pleasure, Dan. Thank you very much. Right, I wonder if Manchester United are one of the teams that are going to find this news very interesting. No doubt a number of Premier League teams are now on alert after PSG's Gianluigi Donnarumma failed to agree terms on a new deal with the European champions. He's been told he's no longer part of the club's plans and that he can leave. And he's posted an emotional tribute on Instagram last night as well, effectively saying goodbye to the fans. He said, unfortunately, someone has decided that I can no longer be part of the group and contribute to the team's success. That someone we presume is the manager, Luis Enrique. I'm disappointed and disheartened. Excuse me. Well, Manchester City and Manchester United among the clubs who've been linked with a move for Donnarumma. Big news, this, isn't it? In terms of Man City, what do you make of that, given that apparently Man City want Ederson to remain as number one and not leave the club?
Yeah, look, it's very surprising, but in the transfer window, when a player and a top player becomes available, then things change and clubs' financial situation changes as well because they look at an opportunity and can make certain deals work that perhaps weren't on the table previously. For Manchester City, first of all, they want Ederson to stay. He's got one more year left on his contract. The player himself spoke while at the Club World Cup and said, I want to stay. These rumours and rumblings around a potential move to Saudi Arabia are nothing. I haven't heard anything of that. I just want to stay. I want to help Manchester City compete for Premier League titles, compete for the Champions League. Manchester City then have brought in James Trafford back to the club. Now, I would expect that they would have bought this player to compete with Ederson for the number one spot, but also to show him a pathway that actually in the future we see you as our number one. Gianluigi Donnarumma is just 26 years old. If they were to bring him in, there's no doubt Donnarumma's coming anywhere to compete for a number one spot. He's coming
just
in
won
to
the Champions League.
The number one, exactly. He's a talented goalkeeper. Now, we heard from Jules Lauren earlier reiterate probably what we've been talking about. Is he a Pep Guardiola type of goalkeeper? Well, one of the reasons why Luis Enrique seems to think not is because he doesn't play out from the back as much, isn't as good with his feet. Well, that doesn't seem to fit with what Manchester City would expect from the goalkeeper. Having said that, they're big fans of Donnarumma. Rightly so, still one of the best goalkeepers in the world. They have seen him as a potential option at the end of this season to come in as a free transfer. But now that situation has changed, whether that will change Manchester City's viewpoint remains to be seen.
And will Chelsea and Manchester United eventually review their situation in terms of their goalkeepers? At the moment, both those clubs saying they're happy with what they've got, but that was before Donnarumma became available. Right, still to come. It's been a summer of change at Bournemouth. It's pretty much a new defence, isn't it? We'll discuss their business. And could West Ham make a push for one of Southampton's superstars? Stay with us.
I'd never
Welcome back to Transfer Talk. Let's give you a transfer update. Liverpool are in talks with Crystal Palace for Mark Gay and believe the defender is keen to move to Anfield. It's been reported that Liverpool target Alexander Isak is determined to make the switch and he won't play for Newcastle again, regardless of whether a deal is agreed or not. Newcastle are in talks over a move for Aston Villa's Jacob Ramsey. However, Villa don't want to sell him and have offered him a new contract. Tottenham remain keen on Crystal Palace's Eberechi Eze. Arsenal expressed interest earlier in the summer, but their focus is now on sales. Gianluigi Donnarumma could be on his way to the Premier League after being left out of the PSG squad to face Spurs in tonight's UEFA Super Cup. He's got a year left on his current contract. And after leaving Everton at the end of his contract, Dominic Calvert-Lewin has today agreed in principle to join Leeds. If the transfer goes through, he could make his debut against his old club in the first Monday Night Football of the new Premier League season. What an occasion that would be. Don't forget, you can keep across all the latest information as it happens on our dedicated Transfer Centre blog. You just scan the QR code on your screen and that will take you to where you need to be. Right, Bournemouth have announced the signing of Bafode Diakite from Lille. Former Bournemouth midfielder Dan Gosling joined us earlier. This is what he said about the business at the club so far.
Replace the left-back, replace one of the centre-backs, and now they're probably going to look for another one to just strengthen that area. And then hopefully, look, the three guys that they've lost, they've gone to three of the best clubs in world football. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the profit they've made on each of them, I think it's very good business. For still Bournemouth, they're still a club that's growing. That money really helps. And then if you look at it from their point of view, the players' point of view, it's Liverpool, Real Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain. I don't think Bournemouth can stand in any of their ways. I think the three lads conducted themselves really well, and they've gone with the blessing of everyone at Bournemouth.
Right, it was very interesting what Julien Laurent said about Bafode Diakite, didn't he? He was very complimentary about him. Just remind us of, the kind of pedigree that Bournemouth fans can expect.
Yeah, he was very complimentary. Someone who established himself in the Lille side last year, played in the Champions League, a Lille side that finished 5th last season. Rates him really highly rated in France. One standout stats that I've found and discovered and was investigating that maybe adds a bit of value to the player is in the last 3 years as a centre-back, he's about 6'1", so he's not super tall as a centre-back, but he scored 13 goals in the last 3 years. He's actually the highest scoring French player in Ligue 1 in the last 3 years. So he scores goals as a defender. Again, that's always an added bonus, I think, when you are signing a centre-back. But look, he could be an ideal replacement in. You've got to trust Bournemouth's transfer activity, how well they've done over the last few seasons. But look, Dan was saying they replaced a goalkeeper, brought in Jordi Petrovic to replace Kepa. They've already replaced Milos Kerkez in Adrien Truffert, who's come in. Now they've got Diakite in, but they still need another centre-back in, don't they? Now letting Zabani go. But what I find phenomenal about Bournemouth's business, and to reiterate what Dan just said, Milos Kerkez, a player they brought in, has gone to Liverpool. Dean Huijsen, a player they brought in, has gone to Real Madrid. And Ilya Zabani has gone to Paris Saint-Germain. This is Bournemouth.
Yeah.
I mean that in the most respectful way possible.
So they're doing a lot right.
They are doing everything right. They're a small club and they've got to find a way and figure out how we can establish ourselves in the Premier League. Brighton do it exceptionally well. Bournemouth are doing exactly the same. But what a window for that. It might be disappointing for Bournemouth fans to see these players leave, but it must feel great that they've got certainly a structure in place at the club where they're able to develop and improve players and sell them to the biggest clubs. We're not talking about the next level up. We're talking about the biggest clubs in world football. It's a sensational bit of business. I trust them. They've got a fantastic manager in Andoni Iraola that no doubt will develop the next lot of talent coming through.
The problem is they constantly have to regenerate is not easy, is it? So if you're constantly selling your top players, and how concerning is it for Bournemouth in this case that they're basically going to have to field a totally new look defence. Should we not be surprised if it takes them a bit of time to gel?
Yeah, a slow start can happen. Players do need time to adapt, especially when you're talking about the heart of your defence. I mean, we were focusing earlier on in the show about Liverpool and the changes they're making, and that's going to be a challenge that Arne Slot's going to face, is gelling those players in. It makes it difficult for a manager when this business is being done closer to the end of the window. I say closer, we're still, 2 or 3 weeks away from it closing. Oliver Glasner's got the same issue at Crystal Palace, the likelihood they're going to be doing their business between now and the close of the window. For him, very similar situation to what he found last year at the club, and he was very frustrated with what happened. It affected Crystal Palace then in terms of their results at the start of the season, but when he got his squad in, was able to gel them, adapt them, look what happened to Crystal Palace. Bournemouth had a fantastic year themselves as well. So, look, it's frustrating for a manager, but Bournemouth will be active, no doubt about it. They'll back the manager. As I said, Iraola is a fantastic manager. He's done a great job there. They trust what he does, and they'll back him in the market, no doubt about it.
Okay, James, just want to get your thoughts on this, because we've got a transfer update into us regarding Jadon Sancho. We are hearing that Besiktas are the latest club to have shown an interest in the forward. The Turkish club's president is quoted as saying that they will do their best to sign him if Sancho wants to join. Once Sancho emerged as a potential target this week, Besiktas fans took to social media to convince the winger to play for them, leaving more than 5 million comments, 5 million, under his most recent Instagram post. I mean, it'll be good for his followers, that's for sure. Borussia Dortmund remain interested, but as yet, no agreement with the club or the player. Clubs in Italy and Saudi Arabia are also keeping an eye on his situation. United want to do a permanent deal for Sancho, though the possibility of a loan can't be ruled out. He's in the final year of his deal, plus an option for a further 12 months. So lots of interest in him. Besiktas, the latest. Is it all about wages with Sancho and how much of it any team can pay? Ideally, all of it.
Yes, certainly will be about wages. I think for Jadon Sancho, I'd like to see him put his foot down, determine where he wants to play football. He might have to sacrifice some of his wages, especially if it's a permanent deal. If it is a loan sign, like what that statement said, is that Manchester United want a permanent deal, but they understand that that may not be possible. And I don't believe Jadon Sancho is going to be the only player they're going to have that dilemma with. Anthony will likely be a similar situation where Real Betis want him back, don't want to pay the money that Manchester United want for him on a permanent basis. They want to make another loan signing after a successful 6 months last year. Jadon Sancho, to say, Borussia Dortmund, I'm sure, remain interested in the player. The amount of interest from Besiktas fans, though, is phenomenal. Those Turkish fans can be very passionate. It's very much like your social media post, Matt, the amount of comments from your fans. But look, we know outgoings is key. We mentioned it time and time again. Manchester United have outlaid a lot of money on Sesko, Cunha, and Brian Mbeumo as well. Outgoings key.
Yeah, I'd be happy to get 5 comments, not 5 million, to be honest with you. Right, Good Morning Transfers returns tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. Transfer Talk as well. We are back at midday. And don't forget, a bit more going on today as well. You get a full roundup of all the day's transfers activity. Transfer show tonight, 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. We'll see you tomorrow.